they're more focused, they're quicker at making decisions, they make better balanced decisions, they're not absent, of course, they're happy. It just takes a little bit longer and perhaps a little bit more investment in that education of your leaders.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi, my name's Rick Nusky, and welcome to today's show. It's wonderful to have you here because I can just tell you right now, this is going to be a treat for you because I'm on the line with somebody who is going to share with us the importance of relationships, leadership, productivity, as well as the health and well-being for us to achieve success in both our personal and professional lives. Now, with that all being said, welcome to the show, Rachel Shackleton.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you for the lovely invitation. I'm looking forward to our chat.
Fantastic. Yes, I've been looking at your bio leading up to the call today, Rachel, and it is complete. Let's just say that. There's lots of wonderful stuff in there and a lot to unpack. So one of the things that I noticed, and it happened to be the very last thing on the bio, is that recently, in fact, this year, you spoke at presented, in fact, at the Second International Health Congress in Geneva. I was wondering if we can start there and talk a little bit about that experience.
Yes, that was, due to COVID, obviously, it was moved online.
Mm-hmm.
The organizers did an amazing job of backing up everything so that, if your technology didn't work, they had a recording of what you were going to say. But in general, it was a great honor. There were some unbelievable speakers in the lineup from around the world. And that is, of course, the beauty of virtual, is that we can talk to each other freely and easily to audiences on a global basis. So the experience, whilst you didn't get to experience those people in front of you talking over a cup of coffee, you could at least tune in online. So the experience for me was very humbling to be invited to speak in amongst such world gurus.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I was sitting there as I was reading through it, and I'm going, there's this, she's done this, and it was just all adding up. Now, I'd love to, if we could, go back and I guess in your career leading up to you starting to found your own businesses, of which there are a couple at least, in terms of your experience in 5-star hotels and how that has helped shape your career today.
Oh, interesting question, Rick. The hotel business was something I knew from, 6 years old. That's what I wanted to do. Eventually I ended up doing it. At that time, my parents had moved to South Africa. They'd actually emigrated. It was back in 1976, 77 it would be. And I'd finished my schooling and I wanted to go into hotel business. So I went to interview for the only hotel school in South Africa at that time, in Johannesburg. And much to my great disappointment and frustration, the board who were interviewing me said, well, I wouldn't be admitted this year, one, because I was a woman, and two, because I didn't speak Afrikaans. The first one, clearly, you cannot do anything about, and actually I'm quite proud. And
of course.
As a woman. The second one, I thought, well, that's very odd. Here is a country that has a language that is spoken only within that particular country. So anyway, I didn't learn Afrikaans. I did speak French and English at the time, and I went back a second year running. And they told me again, well, that they're very sorry that I'm still a woman and don't speak Afrikaans. So at that point, I said, well, to hell with all of you.
Yes.
And I went and did it my way. And I started working as a waitress down in a hotel in Umhlanga Rocks, which is outside Durban in South Africa. And from there, I just went from department to department. And then one day, two people that had been my regular clients in a fresh pasta restaurant in a hotel that I was working in came in and gave me their card. And they said, if you ever want training in the hotel industry, please call us. Well, that was it. I was on the phone the next day and I said, I'm open, I'm ready.
I'm ready to go.
I was the first management trainee for Southern Sun Hotels, which is now Sun International, and had a great time. And from there, that was a launch to working in primarily 5-star properties, actually all over the world. And for people who perhaps don't think of themselves as academic, but love people, want to travel, this is such a wonderful industry. I mean, I know right now it's being hit very hard, but it will come back. And it teaches you so much. So from your question, what has it taught me? It's taught me how to tolerate different cultures. And I mean tolerate in the nicest
way, yes.
Word. How to understand that the mistakes can be made when people are speaking a different language and the culture's different. So it's helped me to do that. It's helped me to communicate with people in all kinds of situations because not all customers are happy.
Yeah.
And then you learn to work with people, to meet them where they are, and to find that solution, which is always there. It's just a case of agreeing.
Yeah.
And taking control of it and not being afraid of it or running away from it, because a customer complaint is an opportunity to improve.
I love that. I love the fact that you've said that, because a lot of the times people see it as a negative experience where it is actually truly an opportunity. And you've touched on, elements of empathy and customer focus, and I can see how they would transpose over to your businesses nowadays. But one of the other things that I have noticed, Rachel, is that you talk about in the corporate world being able to function without ever getting to that point where you burn out. What's your experience with this been?
Again, another good question. I learned the hard way, Rick. This was at the time I was running a business in Russia. I had 15 employees. It was my business, so my role in the business was actually to bring in business and keep everybody employed, and of course working with the clients to deliver an excellent product. Mm-hmm. But it was 1998, and I don't know, probably not everybody is aware that Russia went through a financial crisis in 1998. It was so scary, Rick, I can't even tell you. I mean, I just didn't understand what was going on. I mean, your money, if you had $4,000 at that time, it wasn't even rubles, in your bank account, within seconds, it was worth 4.
Wow.
It was so scary, and everybody was, of course, talking about the same thing, which made it quite depressing and difficult. A lot of the larger organizations were laying people off, making them redundant. And I made a decision that I wouldn't do that for my employees. But at the same time, I couldn't afford to pay them a full salary when actually in reality, they can't do anything because everybody was just trying to deal with this situation.
Yeah.
Not investing in training. Anyway, long story short, I went through the crisis, keeping all my staff, feeding their families. And within about 3 months of that period coming out, I collapsed, basically. My back just said, enough. And I ended up on the floor in a friend's apartment in London for 3 months, lying on my back, literally, looking up at the ceiling and thinking, why has this happened? And of course, with some soul searching, you understand you cannot carry the world on your shoulders and push yourself and push yourself and push yourself, ignoring your body messages, because we always get messages wherever it is. Is it in our gut? Is it in our joints? Is it in our head? But we always get the message that we're pushing too hard. And this is the point where you've got to take the foot off the pedal, because if you continue as I did, you'll burn out.
Yeah, absolutely. You listen to that and you think to yourself, I'm invincible. You know, when we're younger, we can't break, and we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And then the next day, like you've experienced, bang, it's all over. At least it changes for you. Now, I have a couple of questions. We're going to go left of field a moment. Are you still involved with equestrian events? Do you still love horses?
I have a horse. He has been with me for 23 years. Naughty, funny character, but we don't do any eventing or anything like that.
Right.
You know, we just enjoy the local environment.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. I'm wondering, in terms of the core of today's call, we've touched on the fact that we're going to be talking about health and well-being and productivity and leadership, which is all of your speciality. Given your life's experience to that point of burnout, was that the genesis for starting your businesses at Green Key Personal Development and Green Key Health and Wellbeing? Did they start at the same time?
Actually not, Rick. In a way, yes, it was, because after that, I traveled India for 3 months, and I bumped into somebody who was running a clinic ashram. Wonderful man. And within seconds of walking through the door, he looked at me and he said to me, "What is it you want to do with your life?"
Oh, wow.
It really took me back, because I was sort of at that point, quite an introverted person. But I said to him, well, I've always wanted to work with natural medicine. And he said, well, go and have a look at kinesiology.
Oh, of course.
So I did, and that's when I started to learn kinesiology. I would fly back to the UK every month, practically, for once a month, to study. So when I returned to the UK, my goal was actually to treat people with kinesiology, through kinesiology, to slow down a bit, believe it or not. But very quickly, I understood two things. One is I love groups. I love working with groups, and the energy and the possibility to work that energy. And the second thing I understood is that kinesiology on its own is not going to provide enough financially to feed me. So
yeah,
when I went to study herbal medicine and naturopathy, which is why now I've got the three things. So with these two realizations, I was, well, why have I got all these skills? And as I began to answer that question, I understood that I've got the skills of health and well-being. Organizations are struggling with absenteeism, sickness, mental health, and all these things. And I thought, well, that's why I've got it, because I'm also a leadership trainer, and I need to work with leaders on how to, one, keep themselves healthy, but two, see the symptoms in their team members of those that are burning, on the verge of burnout, not necessarily because the organization's pushing them, but because they push themselves can also be a reason. And of course, we all get stuff that's thrown at us in our personal lives, which, even though many organizations say, well, leave your private life outside when you step over the threshold of your work, that is next to near impossible.
It seems to me that it's intertwined. You can't, clock off your body and your mind and your spirit when you clock on, can you? It's omnipresent. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a part of who you are. And in my understanding and practice with individuals is that every sickness, every dis-ease has an emotional foundation. So if you're suppressing your emotions over a long period of time, you're actually slowly destroying your body, or you're creating a dis-ease, however that presents for you.
Yeah.
Is it cancer? Is it hypertension? Is it skin problems? Is it digestion? What is it? But that depends on you and what the emotion is and where you put your stress.
It's a fascinating topic, Rachel, because I hear you talk about working with groups. I hear kinesiology, and I'd love to just, I guess, share a little bit more with the audience about what that actually is so they can get some context around it, just very basically. But I also really love how you've brought the commercial side of the world, the leadership and all of these things together for workers, for employees, in I guess, a practical way. So let's go back to this kinesiology, and can we talk a little bit more about that, then move into the other side of it?
Sure. So the basic foundation of kinesiology is muscle movement and how the energy goes through each individual muscle. Now, there are excuse me, many different strains of kinesiology. Mm-hmm. I practice, one is known as classical and the other is therapeutic energy kinesiology. But they both work on the same principle, that if you put something, for example, on the body that you are allergic to, mm-hmm. and you don't need to put it in the mouth, you can just literally put it on the body anywhere. Yeah. Let's say, for example, tomatoes, and I put a test vial or a physical tomato on your body. If you are indeed allergic or intolerant to it, you will not be able to hold the muscle movement. So I know we're on screen, but if we consider triceps, if I do it like that, that's better.
Yeah.
If I do it like that, so if I'm working with this muscle, I'm going to put pressure here, but it's very slight pressure, Rick. It's like, that's it. It's a very slight movement, and actually it takes a long time to feel that. That's a major part of the training. So when I do that, you can hold your muscle, no problem. Now I put the tomato and I test the muscle at the same time, and the muscle will do this, which tells me you have an intolerance or an allergy, and you should stay away from tomatoes because they're not helping you.
And this can help. This could be applied across all number of different, I guess, blocks and ailments. Can I just mention, I actually experienced kinesiology firsthand through a gentleman called Errol Harding. He's renowned worldwide, and he gave me these little vials of oil. He got me to hold them in my hand, and he said, you're not going to have any strength in your arm when you hold this. And sure enough, I had absolutely zero strength. And he said, hang on, I'll get this other oil or whatever it was, some essence. And he said, now do it and see how much strength you've got. I can tell you right now, the power of kinesiology is amazing. Yeah, I'm very excited to talk about this because I know full well that it works. And that's the really exciting part, Rachel. Now, when we come back to the discussion of employees and getting them on balance, the most productive and, the healthiest they can be, how does that work in a group setting? How do you go about assessing somebody?
Well, in when I'm working with corporates, I don't treat anybody from an alternative perspective, i.e. I don't treat them through kinesiology or herbal medicine.
Right.
Naturopathy is probably the one that comes in the most, and certainly not all organizations are open to education through leadership of how to take care of yourself. If, for example, we look at, at movement, we look at diets, we look at getting fresh air, we look at self-management. Not all organizations are open to having that as part of the overall training program for their, which is in with, communication skills, influencing, etc. But those that are, usually how I bring it in and through is through self-leadership first, is how do you lead yourself? And that is the complete whole. You know, it's the holistic approach at the whole human being from an emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual view and aspect. And the question is, how do you take care of each of these pillars of yourself to pay that respect to yourself and to lead yourself with respect so that you earn that right to lead others?
This is wonderful content. I'm loving hearing this. There's so many questions, and I think to myself, with the corporate side of things, are you finding that there is a trend towards opening up to this type of experience and training? Or is it a slow process?
I think it's a slow process, Rick. I think it's a slow process because we still have this opposite ends of the poles of CEOs, senior management in large organizations have so much pressure on them from stakeholders, shareholders who want a deliverable of a financial return. And this sometimes inhibits their ability to see in the longer term. So they're looking at short term, as we see most world governments do. You know, we talk about sustainability, put something in place for the next 3 years and then forget the rest. So that mentality has to change, that you can get, and you do get, it's not even a case of can, you get your financial rewards and returns by taking care of your leaders, and the leaders taking care of their team members, to make sure that they are fit and healthy and therefore doing an extremely good job, but they're more productive, they're more focused, they're quicker at making decisions, they make better balanced decisions, they're not absent, of course, they're happy.
Yeah.
You get a return. It just takes a little bit longer and perhaps a little bit more investment in that education of your leaders.
It's a bit of a pioneering journey in many respects, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. Sadly, I think so. But you know, it's like everything. It will come, Rick, and I think, you know, COVID is going to help actually with this.
Yes, it's force fed right now on I guess many different organisations. So, Rachel, I wonder, with this being said, is this like a multiple day experience for the corporate environment? How long do your programs run generally?
Generally, well, what I do is I build the program according to the specific needs of every organization. So if let's say, for example, it's a leadership program including the aspects of self-leadership that we discussed, for a group of middle managers, it would likely be around 6 days. But that is not 6 days in a row. It's probably 2 days, the following month, 2 days and 2 days.
Broken up, yeah.
If, for example, you wanted to educate your senior management on how do we bring this aspect of health and well-being into our organization on a deeper level. Deeper level meaning they're not just providing massage at lunchtime or a healthy option in the canteen. That's good, but it's not dealing with the issue, it's dealing with the symptom. Then we're probably looking for senior management at a day to 2 days. Again, it could be split up or it could be together. So it really depends on what the organization wants to achieve, Rick, as to how long the investment might be. But having said that, you can do something in a 2-hour lunch sort of lunch and talk type presentation, and people would pick up a lot of tips to help them work with their team.
Lots of value to be taken away. It got me to thinking, as somebody who is a leader in this field, what does a typical day look like for you? I was wondering if you can walk us through what your day looks like to prepare yourself mentally and physically.
Yes, this morning is a good example. So I typically get up around 6 o'clock, because I found that this is the only time that can be my time,
Yeah.
me time.
Yeah.
And therefore I make my cup of tea, a glass of freshly squeezed lemon juice with hot water, and I sit and read for an hour. Usually it's an educational book. At the moment I'm reading Gabor Mate, When the Body Says No. Before that I was reading Robert Rabin, Invisible Leadership. So it depends. And when I finish that, I then do some stretching, and then I do my gratitude, and then I meditate. And then depending on the schedule for the day, I might go out for a walk, as I did this morning, for sort of minutes. And then I come back and I'm ready for the day. If it's with a group, of course, I make sure my technology is working, that
Yep.
now you don't just pitch up with your things. That, you know, I've got everything in place with that. But I also, before the training generally, if I'm going into a client's premises, I'm going to spend time settling the energy in the room. That sounds very odd. It probably is very odd, but
No, absolutely not. I understand.
I think it's a case of me feeling the energy in the room and setting it correctly for the group, for when they come in, to get the help from the universe. I mean, there's no other way to explain it. You know, people are probably thinking I'm off the planet in my thinking.
Absolutely not.
But I do believe that if something has to come out in a group that I'm not aware of, and there are some participants, but maybe not all aware, something will happen that allows that to come out in that group, if it's the right thing that should happen.
Yeah.
And it could be a question that I ask of somebody, or it could be an exercise that we do, and then all of a sudden this person is talking about this issue that is a block within this group.
Yeah, I can see how this would apply in the corporate setting, Rachel, but I'd love to, I guess, swing over to the other side of your more one-to-one work and talk about that in terms of unblocking these blocks. But do you often see emotionally charged responses when people suddenly realize, hey, look, there's a block here, and you've helped them work through it?
So if I can just go one step back. So when I'm talking to a client for the first time, if they're a new client, I'll take what's known as a full case history. So I look at all the body systems, so musculoskeletal, skin, digestion, endocrine, etc. So I have a picture of this person. I also ask them about family history of illness. And I ask them what are the two things they want to achieve in these treatments, so that I know where they want to go and I address it. This discussion helps me decide, do I work with therapeutic energy kinesiology, or do I work with the classical, which is more about finding what is stressing the body on a physical level. Certainly when I do the therapeutic energy kinesiology, it is very often that you get emotions just bubbling to the surface and coming out. And that, of course, is a huge release for anybody. It may not feel like it at the time, but it's huge when the body lets go of dis-ease, the suppression of emotions. It's huge. It's huge.
What would you say to people who come to you for help when they have a problem? Is that the right approach, or should you be looking at maintaining and improving as part of your lifestyle in general?
I'm not sure I understood the question correctly. Are you asking, do I address other things with the person about how to change their lifestyle?
No, people oftentimes they'll go to a doctor when they're sick. So in terms of kinesiology and all of the other great work that you do, is this more of about a maintenance approach, or is it on an as needs basis? What's better?
So, personally, I think maintenance is better. We all go and service our car because we want to maintain it. We want it to keep it running for longer. Well, it's the same with the human body. If you want to keep it running for longer, you've got to service it somehow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some people, that might be massage, it might be reflexology, it might be acupuncture. These are all great preventative styles of therapeutics,
Yeah.
as is kinesiology. Yeah, so maintenance for me is better, but that doesn't have to be more than 3-4 times a year.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder what the frequency would be, because we all have very busy lives nowadays, don't we?
Yeah.
Now, you've got 2 separate websites. I'm wondering if we can talk through, just briefly, both individually, and I guess what the experience will be when they get to, let's start with GreekyPersonalDevelopment.com. What are they going to find on that website?
So the website gives, as I would say most websites do, an about section about me, about what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a general description of the fact that we do training, and the 4 key areas are well-being, corporate well-being, leadership, communication, and customer excellence. If you have a particular interest, you can go look more deeply into one of those for a little bit more of a description. However, the descriptions are quite general because I work with each client individually. I don't build the course beforehand.
Yeah.
Also on that site, you will find a page on e-learning, which is what I've been doing, developing actually in this lockdown period. I've developed a whole set of modules on well-being in the workplace, which includes 6 different topics which organizations can buy and make available to all their employees to do 20-30 minutes on, for example, stress in my stride, or maximizing my energy, or me and my values. Mental health, mental agility is also there. So you'll also find the information about that, and you'll find my blog. I blog once a month on each website. So you'll always find something new coming in on that page.
Some fresh content. Now, can I just go back a couple of steps with you, Rachel, and just ask you about mental health a little bit? And given what's happening in the world right now, and with your students, your clients, and the people you work with, what sort of content are you developing, if any, to do with working in isolation and mental health?
This actually is coming in the next modules which we are working on.
Mm-hmm.
Looking from my own personal point of view and the feelings that I go through and experience related to the COVID situation, and then talking to clients and listening to issues as well, individual clients as well as organizational clients. I understand that the fallout from this lockdown, or the lockdown that's been experienced practically all over the world, is going to be much more massive than the actual COVID-19 damage, if we can, again, in the nicest sense.
Mm.
And as social beings, we have to have social contact. It is essential.
Yeah.
And working on a Zoom is very good, but I don't get to sit next to you or do the natural thing of, put your hand out, all the things that we do that we're not
The senses.
conscious. Yeah, the senses. Thank you, Rick, for that. So I am going to start developing this after we finish the customer service 3 programs, which are under development now.
Lots of work to do then, lots of work.
Yeah. It's a lot of my own work, Rick, you know. I'm a person that sits down and says, okay, with nothing to do, you know, I like to be.
No, I can tell that you've got a lot of wonderful content. I've had a look at that particular site. Now, what about the other site that people will find, the greenkeyhealth.co.uk? How does that differ?
So this is very much aimed to the individual who is looking for some assistance in helping them correct or maintain their existing body wellness, mental and physical. So it explains about what is kinesiology, how does it work. There's a little bit there about herbal medicine and naturopathy and how the 3 work together. You'll find a brief description of what goes on in a consultation, and then the possibility to book if you'd like to book a consultation, or give me a call, because I'm happy to talk to people for 10 minutes to understand, is this right for them or not?
Yeah.
If they're concerned about that. And then there is the blog also on that site, which of course is more health oriented, whereas the other one might be health and business oriented, or just business leadership communication oriented.
Thank you very much for sharing, Rachel. You are a wealth of knowledge. You're a wonderful soul. You've got so much to give. And for everybody who's on the call with us today, as customary, I will be making not 1 but 2 URLs back to greenkeypersonaldevelopment.com and greenkeyhealth.uk. And with all that being said, Rachel, thank you so very much for spending some time with me on the My Future Business show today.
Thank you, Rick. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.